Well, we're into the first week of October already. Fall is here. Temperatures are dropping. We've gotten a lot of moisture up where I'm at, up in the Bighorn Basin, up against the Bighorns on the west slope. And we're sitting pretty good. Just put some calves out on some grass. And we've got a little more weaning to do. And things are looking pretty good up here as far as that goes. We're into the second week of the budgeting initiative that we're putting forward in this class. And I've put other people's videos out there as far as the reasons for that kind of thing. I think the zero-based budget is one of the most instrumental artifacts if you will employ it and use it in your system, first from the personal side and then from the business side. And you'll hear me say this probably in other videos to come. Maybe you've heard it before. I can't ever remember what I've already said. But I just want to reinforce the fact that you can't do it effectively. At least this is, years and years of being in business, being around business, studying business. If you falter personally on your personal finance, then you will falter on the business finance. All it is just another step or two as far as the complexity. And it's not really any more complex once you get the hold of the personal finance end of things. Budgeting is essential for your peace and contentedness. Although I've been there, I was there. It seemed like quite a while ago, but I remember it like it was yesterday, where I was in your shoes, and a little bit of chaos in certain areas was something that sometimes we strived for. It seemed like, but anyway, I think as you age and you acquire more wisdom and those kinds of things, that you will actually enjoy this fact. And, we always go around and we go, that guy, yeah, he's a little older and it seems like he just got it all up here. Well, it probably started out on paper, and then our minds are the world's best computers. And it just becomes part of your DNA and part of your brain and the analytics going on in your head. So we can store limitless amount of data in these brains. Doesn't mean it's not fallible. Doesn't mean that we might take the wrong path. And we can make our decision making get better over time. It has has no relationship to if we take the wrong track and we end up circling back and that sort of thing. So anyway, a few people in the class have fallen behind. I want to congratulate first of all those that are staying on it, staying on the game. And those that again, there's a percentage of you that are getting ahead, and getting on a budget is not just financial. What our end game is for that peace and contentment. How do we acquire that peace and contentment with our finances? But just a little bit further from that is that living with margin. You hear me say that again too. And as the semester goes along, if we live with margin, then the unexpected comes along and we can deal with it. Doesn't mean it's not chaotic, but it's a whole lot easier to deal with things that come down the pike. Storms, drought, prices, livestock prices, crop prices, all those kinds of things are not... They're just not as disruptive if we're living with margin. And I want you to relate to this. The reason that I teach this concept in this class and all my classes that I've taught at the college level. I've always asked my students is to adopt living on margin. That means when you get the chance, you do it. You get it done. Somebody calls me up, and I'm not 100% all the time, just like anybody. I'm a fallible human being. But on the same token, if somebody calls me up and asks me that a small task that I can do then and there, or I can do it when I get off the phone or after speaking to them one-on-one, then I try to do that task right then and there. If it only takes me 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, get it done, get it out of the way, get it behind you. And that's what I'm asking you to do here, is that start early in the week. That way on Friday night, and all of a sudden it's like, I can't load this. I don't understand this question. It's not Friday night. It's Tuesday night. It's Monday night. Maybe it's the weekend before. Maybe it's the week before. And sometimes you have to just start this whole thing in increments. Okay? So, budgeting. Amazing thing that can flip some people's lives, a lot of people's lives, is the fact that you turn it upside down. Most of us, with our human brains, we go, okay, if we have leftover, we'll give. If we have leftover, we'll save. But what about flipping that over and saying, nope, I'm going to pay myself first by saving, and I'm going to give first at the beginning of the month. And for those of you who are believers, a tithe is the gift of your first and best. That's what God asks of ourselves. So why wouldn't it happen at the beginning of a pay period or the beginning of a month? And so that's kind of my concept behind that. And I will guarantee you, at least it's been that way for me. And again, I'm certainly not perfect, but giving at the beginning when I have the money in the bank, when I've just received my paycheck, and giving cheerfully at that time, and then also saving at that time, all of a sudden you start formulating a budget which will actually, you live within your means. It just forces you to do that. And you have this, you're building up that margin. Now that doesn't mean you're a hoarder. And maybe if 90%, if you put it into savings and giving, that's probably 10% is probably on most people's earnings is not enough to live on. I understand that. Start small. Okay? So there is no reason with technology and other things that is going on in this world right now. And I know we're economically, our country's not in a great place right now. At least that's what all the news is telling you. And I'd say get off of that if you're listening to it. Most of you aren't, so that's a plus. So, but if we are living in some of the most exciting times, especially for agriculture. And just a little bit there, and I'm going on and on here, so I wanted to give a shout out. There's a whole bunch of people in this class that are into regenerative agriculture, healing lands, small-time agriculture, and I can relate to that. I just have a small place. I work for my neighbor that has a big place, so I enjoy cowboying. I don't know, people look at me cross-eyed when I say, I like to go out and irrigate. And I mean, it's amazing to me. And watch things grow. And we're just starting, since we've moved back to our place just a year and a half ago or so, we're starting with a small garden. We're planning on putting in a greenhouse. I've got some compost going out here. And we're we're working that angle of it. I'm not sure that we're going to have anything in excess to sell, but we want to provide for our community and be self-sustainable in as much as we can. And one of the things, you don't have to be huge to earn a living in agriculture. And sometimes learning it, we talked about, firing a couple of small bullets. Very effective way to do things in your decision making. It's not just burn and crash or by chance that you make it big. So by firing the cannonball all at once. But anyway, so a shout out to all those people. If you want to ever talk to me about it, or I can learn something from you, I'm sure, a lot of things. And because we're just trial and erroring it just like everybody else. So I'm watching YouTube, learned a lot. I've been doing a lot of reading and that sort of thing. So very exciting stuff. So living on margin, budgeting is the first step. It's a zero-sum budget. So you give every dollar a name. Then here's some questions that arise. We're gonna go into a little more complex budget. At least you have the chance to do that. Some of you may not have keep it as simple as possible so that you use it. I think that was one of the questions on the quiz that you may have had. Okay, so as a college student, you may not have, a very complex budget. Good for you. You can learn this in a real simple way and just add to it as you mature. Some of us are right dab in the middle of life, and we may have to take on a little bit more at this time in order to really have a great and a budget that becomes better over time. This is a skill, and you'll get better at it. It takes about 3 months of doing it in order to get better where you're actually doing some predicting. You're doing some massage, what we used to call massage of the data. that's an economist in back rooms. They're talking about, we're going to massage this data a little bit. But we're taking in inputs that we've had in our mind for several years or many years. And we're going, things have changed a little bit. So I'm going to tweak what our projections are going to be because of what we've learned over the years. That's what I mean by massage the data. Okay, massaging the budget to a certain extent. Well, cattle prices are a little bit up. Cattle prices are a little bit down, or whatever the commodity you happen to be selling. Maybe it's hay or a particular crop. You can inject that into your budget later on as you get better at it. And you will become better at it as you practice this skill. So good luck with that. I give you a zero-sum budget. Even though you're putting down historical data last month, basically, give every dollar a name, okay? And point in fact. Okay, you look at it and you go, I don't know what I used my card, and I didn't save the receipt. I don't know what it was for. Then have a little line item there on your budget. It's your budget that says, this is my black hole spending, okay? Or whatever you want to give it. And at the same time, start thinking about, okay, how can I minimize that so it actually has a specific name? Now, you can have a blow account where you just say, hey, listen, this is my spending money, okay? But give it a name for everything, and your historical spending, and then as you project it forward, okay? That's how you get control over it, okay? I don't know where this $150, $200, $1,000 went, okay? If you didn't know where it went, then that's a great budget item to start with. I had $500 worth of expenditures. I don't even know where it went, okay? It's in the black hole expense item. Well, then that black hole expense item is one you can work on. It's like, if I don't even know what it was for, then it wasn't that important, probably. All right? Then my projection might be, okay, let's see if we can cut that in half. Cut it by 25%. Cut it by 75%. And see what your projections are as you measure that throughout the month. And try to tighten up that budget so that you have more margin later on. Okay? So both the historical budget that you build and the projected budget are going to be zero sum. Give every dollar a name. The next thing we're going to talk about is I've got a podcast again about meetings. The dreaded meeting. I've sat through more dreaded meetings than any of you have, except for Bill. And I don't know, I probably would compete with him. But on the same token, and I know even 19 and 20-year-olds tell me that it's like, I don't want to go to another meeting. And especially after this COVID thing, most of us don't want to meet on Zoom either most of the time with a group of people. Because you never can get your point across. There's never enough time for everybody to go through what they've been through and all, you know what I mean. But running effective meetings is an essential tool and skill to have as an administrator or a manager. So listen to these podcasts very intensely. You'll pick up a few things. You don't have to use them all. And again, just like the budget, keep it simple. Keep it simple for your people. Think of them too. I mean, if you're going to put them through meetings, then keep it simple as possible. Okay. One thing I've learned over my business career: the more that I can share with my team members, my staff, the better off I am. Not the personal stuff, obviously, but sharing with them more than what I think they need to do their job, so they can get some buy-in. You want employees that work for you like they're the owners. So they have to have some ownership in your company or business in order to really perform and star. You want them to accelerate how much they work for you. And I mean, more brain power. I mean, give them the time off as positive reinforcement and that sort of thing. I really believe in that sort of thing, and take care of your people. But on the same token, if you want to engage them, then you have to give them a darn good reason. And that's part of your leadership skills that you're going to get. Many of you may already have some of those, but getting together and communicating for a short business meetings is essential for all of it. So have fun with that, and let me know if you have any questions. I'm always available. Well, I'm not always available, but don't think I'm not, okay? I'm trying to pay as much attention to this class as I can. Email, texts are even better, probably to get me. I'm going to, later on the season, I'll be guiding some elk hunters, and I may be without communication for a couple of days, or maybe even a little bit longer, but that's not a big deal. It's a healthy way to live, I think. But anyway, I wish you the best, and if I can do anything for you in this class or outside of it, let me know. Okay? Over and out.